Hi, and welcome to LNA Does ODO Stuff. In today's episode, I will tell you everything there is to know about a drum rack. How to use it, why to use it, where to use it, and all that jazz. So please keep on watching. So firstly, let's go into the browser window, and I have my new mouse thing. Ooh, check that out. So we go to drums, and from here we go to drum rack. So this is an empty drum rack, and these are presets of someone created using a drum rack. So right now, let's just take one of these 808, just have a little look-sees on how does it look like. So I'm just gonna, accidentally put 909. Well, that is fine. This is the device area, that is the pad area, and this is the macro area. Here, I have three beautiful buttons. So the first button here is controlling the macro. We will talk about the macros and everything later, but there's also a map here. And what that does is change actually the whole browser window into this really cool macros area. I'm gonna get into it later. And then we have this button here, which actually shows the chain list. So we can activate the chain from here. We can control and manipulate the chain from here. And in this device view, we control and manipulate the chain, what kind of sound the chain is making. Okay, so let's create our own drum rack from the start. So first things first, let's go into the browser window and drums area. And from drums, we're gonna go to drum rack, and we're gonna just put this empty drum rack on the channel. And now from here, we're gonna be first looking at the chains. So if I open the chain list, you can see that there's nothing here, but it just says drop a device here. So let's try a couple little things. So firstly, if I go to samples and I put example a kick into here and I just drop it here, what happens? It actually opens the sample, the audio file, in a simpler and in one shot mode, which allows us to actually now play it, the audio as MIDI from a MIDI note through these pads. And it's created a new device chain. Okay, so another way of creating a device chain is actually right-clicking here, this area, and just says create chain. Voila, how amazing. And what I could do now is just go to instruments, and from here I go to example, take an instrument like a wavetable, and I just drop that to the device area of the chain. Okay, but what's happened now is that this C1 has now both of the sounds on it, and it says multi. It's because I need to go open up the I/O settings from there, and you can see that they're both on C1. So I just need to go here and just put that as C#1. And now we have wavetable on the C#1, and then we have kick on the left as C1. Let's say example, I would like to have the wavetable here. And now I could go to audio effects and I could go and get a chorus. I can just drop that after the wavetable here, not this area, because now if I put it here, it actually puts it outside of the chain. So I need to just go just by the wavetable and drop that there. Now, this chain has first, we have the device that makes the sound, so wavetable. After that, it's chorus. So we are creating chains exactly the same way as we would create chains on any other track like this. So we have now created two different chains. I can rename them. Kick chain. I can color them like that in different colors. I can also try from here is the preview button. So I can preview how the sound would be in here in pads. Then we have the MIDI in and MIDI out. So we can select here, where does the MIDI come from? And then this choke group. So we can actually use this group selector to group them into a same group. We can group the chains so that the other one is choking the other one. So example, when I'm playing the wavetable now and I press kick, the wavetable stops. If I have the wavetable as none and I play the wavetable and I press the kick, it doesn't stop. So that's how the choke option Then after that, we have the chain volume. So we can control the volume separately, as well as the panning, mute button, solo button, and we have a hot swap. We can hot swap sounds into these chains very fast. So if I press the hot swap here, you can see what happens in the browser window is that we get the drum hits here. So I could go example mix percussion, and I can just use the up and down arrows to select the sound. When I find one that I like, I can press enter. And what's happened is that instead of the wavetable anymore, there's now the mix percussion sound. I press the X and that's done now. So let's just have a look at the pad view, how we can change sounds in the pad view and how do that affect the chains that we have created. If I, for starters, want to change that I want this sound to be as C1, not C sharp one, I can just take that, drag and drop it, and they swap places. And what's happened here is that these haven't actually swapped places, but the MIDI note, which is controlling where they've been played, then that changes place. So we can try that out. Otherwise, I can go to samples and I can just drag and drop samples on the top of them. It doesn't change the name that is on the pad, but it just changed the sound. The sound wave in the simpler has changed into female. Well, it's called female. The sample is called female. Then we have, again, hot swap button on here. But what's happening on the left side of the pads? Well, you can see all the available 128 pads slots. If I would like to put one of these samples into the grid, but I don't want to put it onto these pads, I actually want to put it on E8, I can just go to this gray area with the little squares on it, scroll up, and then E8. So now you can see that one of the squares from the top left corner has gone white, and that means that there's sample there. Otherwise, what we can do is just use our mouse arrows up and down, or if I hold down command, I can go one row at a time. Like that. If I want to add lots and lots of samples here at the same time, I can just highlight the samples I want to drag and drop, and I just drag and drop them there. It's added all these other chains here to the chain list. So the next thing is something very cool that I really like about Drum Rack, and that is the sends and returns. So we don't need to do the sends and returns here on the actual session, but we can have our little sends and returns inside here. You can see what happens when I click the R. You can see that this little box opens up. So the chains are on the top, and this is for the return change. So I go to audio effects, reverb, and drag and drop there. I'm gonna color it so it just looks, oh, not yellow again, green. I can right click it, the empty area, and create a return chain from there as well. So we could put an echo there, example, like that. So now we have two return chains, A and B, bit like here, A and B. Well, now you can see the S has activated on the left, so that is sends. So now we can send some of the sounds from some of the chains into the return chains. If you don't understand how returns and sends actually work, I've made a video about it, so I'm gonna link it down below, and it will make sense after that. You can see that now there's two sends going on. Okay, so let's put some echo example on this female vocal here. So we have it just without anything.
I feel you.
Like that. And then we can just go to this sends. We're going to send some of the sound.
I feel you.
And now there's a little bit of an echo on it.
I feel you.
We can do the same with reverb like that.
I feel you. I feel you.
And because of sends and returns, it's really fun because you can just go around with all the different chains and just add how much you want each effect. And also just to notice that both of the return chains also have the volume controls as well as panning controls, as well as mute, as solo, hot swap again on the FX example, and then we have where does the output go to, and from here you can see that you can also select as an output as A reverb and B delay, so you can also select the actual return tracks on the session. Very cool. So the next thing, we're going to be doing some macro stuff. So we're going to open the macros from the left corner there. We have the kick chain and we have the wavetable here. The first thing first, I want the map, the macro one. I would like that to control both of these chains' volumes. First, make sure that you have the macro map mode on. Then I'm going to go to here, to the volume, and I'll click that. And then I'm going to go to macro 1 and map. You can see it's changed to chain volume. I'm going to go to the other volume of this chain, wavetable chain, click that, and map it to the same one. Okay? And what's happened now is that they actually appeared to the browser window. So the browser window is no browser anymore. It's actually now micro mapping window that allows us to change the values and control the values. So example, we now have minimum is the infinity, which is like very zero. And then we have max value is 6 dp. So I could go here and just put that I actually want the 5 dp is the max. So now when I go to away from the macro mapping mode, you can see that this chain volume goes to 5 dp and the minimum is infinity. Okay, chain volume. So I can go here, I can just rename it. I could put master volume like that. And I can also give it a nice little color. Let's put a macro 2. And this time I want the kick chain. And from here, I want to put the both dry wet of both of these controls into the macro 2. I do the same thing. I click map. I go to dry wet. Click map. I go to dry wet of the chorus, click map again. And now you can see because I put 2 controls instead of 1, it's called now macro 2. So I can go again here and I can put the max values and the minimum values left and right. I can also go to this chain and I can just delete the ones that I don't want anymore. And I can go here wavetable, and even from the wavetable, like the wave shape, I could just put that into this one, oscillator position. And there we go. And now you can see when I control the macro on the oscillator 1 position, it changes the oscillator 1 position from the chain number 2 wavetable here. And so we have it. Oh no, there is one more thing. Because we can actually mix also using drum rack, and that's really cool. So if we go to this drum rack here and you see that there is this triangle, you press from that and I can't believe it. What is it? Well, it actually is the different chains separately. You don't see them inside of the rack, but you see them actually separate on the device area as you would see anything else. I go to the wavetable one, you see wavetable there, reverb and echo. So basically you have a session view inside of a session view. And what's really funny is that we can actually have drum racks inside of drum racks. So example, we could go to here, to the drum rack presets, take a drum track from there, put that, and we can make it its own chain. And what can you see here now? It's also a triangle that has the chain inside of the chain, after chain, after chain. So we can go in so many levels of chains. And that is why it's like literally limitless of how we can use drum rack, but also we can use it together with media effect rack, audio rack, instrument rack, and we can just connect all these different racks and we can just have this crazy picture inside of picture inside of picture inside of picture situation going. But what if we have MIDI notes in a clip that are using the notes of this chain? We can just take that And then when we drag and drop it to the empty area, what happens? The chain takes the clip with it. And when we open this up, this mixing window, what you can see, all the controls of the chain here as well. So if I have an instrument somewhere, let's say a wavetable there. Okay, we have a wavetable on the track, and I just press Control, or in right click with a PC, press the top bar of this instrument. What can we see here? Whoa, we have an option, group to drum rack. Okay, well, it groups it to a drum rack, and it's appeared into the device section of the drum rack, and now we have this instrument on this MIDI control. Okay, so another cool thing is that let's say we have a normal chain of FX on our track like that. What we can actually do is highlight and select all of them, pressing down Shift, holding down Shift, and now we do the same thing, press Alt down, and then we select again group to drum rack. And what's happened now, instead of the wavetable being there alone, now you have the whole chain that we just highlighted is now on the drum rack. And when we go to the chain list, it's created it as a new chain in the drum rack. Another thing is that if we go to the top bar again and Control, and then we go edit info text, we can actually edit our drum rack info text. This is my drum rack, la la la. Yeah, just note for yourself. So let's say we have a lot of different chains in here, right? And in the chains, you might have a lot of different amount of devices. So sometimes you might be in the situation where you need to troubleshoot something, or you need to just find a certain device from these chains really fast. If we go to this device chooser view here on the lower corner, press Control, and we click here, and what happens? Whoa. It actually recognizes that we have a rack in the device view, and then we can see what are the devices inside of the chain. So example, I can go simpler, and it changes into a simpler, and now I can edit that if I like to. Okay, and let's go into the weekly question, shall we? Saying, hello, have you tried using Ableton or iPad or alternative apps for music production on iPad OS? With Ableton Live, I've been actually using an app called TouchAble. It's this TouchAble. It's this really cool app that works almost like an extension for Ableton Live, that on a stage or wherever you are in a recording situation. Otherwise, apps that I personally like using on the go are Electrode by Drumpads24. It's just because when you have a beat idea or something. And that just dropped. Oh my god, that scared the shit out of me. Well, actually, that came down in a really good time, because next week something is gonna happen in this room. So I'm just gonna leave it down, because it's gonna come down anyway. Anyway, all these apps that I use, I can link down below, and you can have a look what kind of music making apps I personally use, and yeah, comment your favorite ones also down below. I think it's time to finish this episode, because I think the walls are literally collapsing. I'll see you here next week, and remember to come here next week, because exciting. Okay, bye. Thank you.